Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. On behalf of of Barnard College and Women in Hollywood, it is my honor to welcome you to the 11th annual Athena Film Festival. We as a festival are dedicated to celebrating the stories of bold, courageous women leaders and filmmakers who bring those stories to life. So thank you so much for joining us for this Q&A. My name is Corey Luco, and I am a programmer and a operations assistant here at the Athena Film Festival. I, of course, want to mention that this year's festival would not be possible without the support of our dedicated sponsors. So please join me in thanking Athena's founding sponsor, the Artemis Rising Foundation, and its CEO and founder, Regina K. Scully, whose visionary leadership makes our work possible. And also a special thank you to our premier level sponsor, the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, which shares our commitment to showcasing the stories of women in science and bringing them to you on screen. Thank you to all of our sponsors whose names you will see before each film and event. And thank you so much for your commitment to challenging our culture to be more inclusive and inspiring audiences in the process. This past year has been a wake-up call. And when we were thinking about curating and programming for this festival, we wanted to make sure that we really dug deeper and made something that was going to be very impactful for our audiences. So we created eight different program areas, and that we believe react and respond to this current moment. So this program area is called Come As You Are. And in this program area, we are celebrating just being who you are, whatever that means to you. So whether it's wearing makeup or not, wearing your hair natural or not, shaving or not, in this world, there is so much messaging about how we should look, how we should act, and how we should live, but it's all good here as long as it's what you want. So come as you are. I am so excited to introduce to you the moderator for this shorts program conversation, Opal Hope Bennett, who is the senior programmer for the Athena Film Festival and just a wonderful person. So Opal, please take it away.
So kind. Thank you so much, Corey. It's a real pleasure to be speaking with our filmmakers here, and of course the audience is joining us presumably after having watched your amazing film. So really glad to get into some of the questions they might have for you. I love this grouping of films. It's irreverent. It's really nice mix of scripted and documentary, and super glad to speak with all of you today. So I'm going to go through the filmmakers that we have with us. Marco Alessi, who's the director of Tony with an I. Welcome, Marco.
Hiya.
Kate Hackett, director of Oleander.
Hi.
Hey, Kate. And Jesse Jarrett, who's the co-director of Kate Wizard with Jessica Wolfson. Good to see you, Jesse.
Hi.
So again, so wonderful to have you guys in the festival. We were blown away by these films. I would love to, for our two narratives, for you to talk about where these stories came from. You have some really amazing leads, which will always grab our attention at Athena Film Festival. So please share about the writing process for these two scripts. And start with you, Marco.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having us as part of it. It's such a it's such a privilege. It's such an amazing festival. The film was originally commissioned. We pitched it originally as part of a commission celebrating the 30th anniversary of the World Wide Web a couple of years ago. So that was just the abstract kind of open call. And I co-wrote it with my amazing collaborator, Mary Anthony, who also plays the teacher in the film. And we were just kind of thinking about experiences we've had and how we can relate that back to the internet. And I think we were both Tony in school in different ways. We kind of turned up acting in a way that in retrospect was really loud, but was just us trying to figure out who on earth we were. And it was met by different people in different ways. And I think we found a lot of safety in the internet, not necessarily how Tony does, but we were kind of, that's where the idea kind of emerged from. And we knew that if you commission 10 films in response to the abstract idea of the internet, most of them are going to be kind of Black Mirror-esque. And so we decided to proactively try and look at a positive side to things, and kind of offer the other half.
Love that. And Kate?
Yeah, I second the thanks so much for being here. I've always loved the programming of Athena Film Festival. I've been a fan for a while, so I'm really excited to be here. And so in my case, I wrote a feature film screenplay that takes place in the same world of abstinence-only sex education. And as I went on the journey to get the feature produced, I realized that I wanted to make a short film version to introduce in the world and the characters, and that I wanted the short to be able to stand alone as a really good short film that also was able to be an ensemble piece for actors, because I grew up in the theater. My parents are in the theater, and I always loved working with actors. Saying that, the inspiration for the feature and the short came from my own Catholic school education. I had, to some extent, abstinence-based sex education, but also, while there's so many things I truly value from my education, I had to process a lot of shame about my own sexuality, and that really followed me through my life in ways that were that I had to unpack and digest as an adult. And so I really wanted to explore that, and explore also what it would be like to be a young person dealing with that now, in sort of the new media, social media era, and also how our institutions of religion and the media can work together now in ways that inform young people's lives.
Yeah, see, the shorts are always packed with such rich layers of storytelling. I love that all that you've relayed there. And then Jesse, your character in The Paint Wizard, your subject, how did they come to you guys, you and Jessica?
Yeah, I had recently moved to Austin from New York City, and Jessica did too about a year prior. And a friend of ours was getting their house painted, and we went over, to their house, and the house owner was like, "Oh, I have to tell you about this person who's painting our house," and Lily wasn't there at the moment, but she was showing me photos and videos and just telling me stories about her. It's like, this person sounds really intriguing, and I'd love to meet her, and like, what a great way to sort of, for me, it was sort of like getting to know Austin and just jumping into it, making a short film and getting to know, see Austin through this character's eyes who's, lived here for the past 20 years. So, so Jessica and I connected with Millie, and, we had a 3-hour lunch with her and just kind of talked about her life and, the idea of being in the documentary. And she was really excited right away and sort of, wanted to be a star and was ready for the big screen. So yeah, it just sort of progressed really organically in that way.
And so, how long were you guys following Millie? And I think, well, let me let you answer that first. I had follow up.
Yeah, I think we filmed over the course of about 4 months, I would say. Okay. Just we probably filmed only like 5 or 6 times with her, but it was just over a 4-month span about.
Yeah, there's a what I found really unique about her story is there was a very sort of Austin specificness to it, but then also, of course, a quite universal experience of a trans woman. And I thought that I just wanted more, not just from her, but I was like, the world that she inhabits in Austin. I was curious, you said you followed her a certain amount of time, but did you get to see any bit more of her larger world?
Her world is pretty insular to what you see in the film. Like, she really does keep to herself and stays in her motorhome, and she has her haunts. I mean, we talked about going with her to other places. her other hangouts are, she goes to the grocery store where they know her by name. She goes to the paint store, which we did try to film it, but they were not open to us filming, unfortunately. But yeah, I think since we've kept in touch with Millie and, see her, from time to time, it's a little hard during the pandemic now, but her world is not that much broader than really, she kind of sticks to South Austin. She has her certain spots where she knows, the people there and they know her and she feels comfortable, and she doesn't often like to venture out to places, by herself where, they don't know her, just because she is still, not totally comfortable with who she is and gets nervous about how people might perceive her. So, she is ready. She's joked about a series, so I'm sure she wouldn't mind us following her more. And it's good to know there's interest in seeing more of her. So I'll relay that message to her.
Yeah, each of your characters, certainly those of you who are here to speak with us, but I'd say the program at large, you have such strong, impactful, unforgettable characters at the front, and it's interesting. I want to pick up on your point about being comfortable in others' perceptions, because that certainly was a thread of the grouping of this program. So Tony with an I, and even in Oleander, it's something I think that parallels with all of the characters, right? Like Tony has this, really strong online persona, and struggles to bring it into her real life. And then Oleander had this, background that or that's not her name, sorry, but the character, it has this background that she's seeking to overcome through the strong character that she puts forth online. And I thought it was really interesting how in both cases the persona they're able to take on online was something that they were challenged with in real life. So I would love for Marco, if you could speak to that in terms of how you drew Tony, how you teased out the characters, sort of conflict around that, and then Kate.
I think we would. On the one hand, we were talking about kind of enthusiasm as a young person and what it means to kind of like really lead with that and be and kind of when young people hit that age where a certain degree of cynicism kicks in that like hasn't necessarily framed the narrative yet for others. But the language that I found that really kind of helped me refine that, as I spoke to Maddie, who plays Tony as well, was I think it was in relation to Moonlight. My friend had written an article and mentioned the phrase proto-queer. And I was just like looking at the idea of proto-queerness and relating that back to my experiences when I was kind of around 13 as well. And just that experience of negotiating kind of non-verbalized self-awareness, like recognizing something about yourself but not having received the language for it yet. And I think through the pop star and the music that pop star makes, Tony finds space that she can sit in that feels like it connects to that character or that part of her identity. Maybe it's like really bright and it's colorful and it's positive in its kind of celebration of self and sexuality in a way that's quite light. It's not too like explicitly verbalized yet, and so she's finding that space really comfortable, but then is met with bullying basically at school that we kind of made a point to try and not make it explicitly clear what exactly they're bullying her about. There's a sense that it's to do with sexuality, but it's not. Even they can smell something, but they haven't particularly named it yet. And so it was around those terms that we were able to explore that idea of bringing something forward, but like really being on unsteady footing with it, which I think is really fascinating.
Right, which is so much of teenage grappling, queer or not. And then Kate, first of all, casting, spectacular. And even your supporting character, I'm a fan of that actress's. But yeah, to this point of grappling with a projected identity, and then kind of one's own internal battles there.
Yeah, I think in the case of Oleander, it's that her YouTube channel is kind of her armor against the world and her way to fortify herself through the experience that she's going through, and through her fear, through whatever her struggle with her parents is that we don't even see, but we know it's happening. And and I think I also was really interested in the idea of showing, because I feel I've seen so many coming of age films, and they're wonderful films, but I've seen so many teenage coming of age films about a teenager who's searching, like they don't know what their identity is yet. They're looking to find some kind of formation, and I wanted to show somebody who feels that they know their formation. They feel they're fully formed. They feel they know what they want for themselves. And it could be that later they'll develop and they'll become somebody different, but that they have that assuredness. And I think part of the reason is just honestly thinking about it politically. You know, I feel like we have so much discourse in our culture that involves young women's bodies, and but doesn't involve the young women themselves in that conversation. And so I wanted her to be like someone with a manifesto, somebody who can engage you in an intellectual argument. And that was, that made her a hero to me, that she would be able to do that at such a young age.
Yeah, absolutely. At her, she has a sophistication to her that is unexpected given her age. I want to talk about the twist though that you do in the sort of arc of the story, and that is with supporting characters, sort of like baiting and switching Oleander then with the purporting to go and have a good time with her, and then getting this footage that's used in a not up and up way. I was curious about your decision to put that unexpected twist in there. It was completely very fun to watch, but completely unexpected in terms of where the character was going.
Yeah, thank you. I was kind of thinking, as somebody who's worked in the media, I'm also a film editor, and I'm really conscious of how people's identities can be manipulated by the media. And, I've luckily been able to work with collaborators who are not wanting to do that with their subjects, who have love for their subjects. And, but I also know that somebody's identity can be completely stolen and transformed through the media by an institution or by a group who wishes to harm them. And I certainly know, the tools to do that. And I see them being deployed on the internet. And so I think I was kind of looking at it sort of as the film being an allegory for how these two institutions, religion and the media, can play in our society and affect one person's life. And I do see I think a lot about the responsibility of the media, because they they can be supporting to some extent, supporting institutions that they don't even align with morally. The media makers don't even align. In this case, we have a filmmaker who doesn't align morally with this idea of abstinence-only sex education, but she's doing it because she needs a paycheck. And so, I was, that culture of cynicism and willingness to manipulate in our culture, I kind of wanted to shed some light on that and show how a young person could be affected by that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I would, that's really deep. That's deeper than I expected you to go. I like that. I would love to speak with you. I was alluding to it a bit earlier, but I'd love to speak with you and you, Marco, about casting, because these stories, of course, lived or died with the performances that you got out of your actors, and you made really brilliant choices in each case. So I'm gonna go back to you, Marco, in terms of how did you cast Tony? Where'd she come from?
Yeah, the casting process was really nerve-wracking. We were really aware of what you were saying. It's and I think working with figuring out the most productive way to help a young person who maybe has less experience or kind of is less self-assured in a casting context, kind of shine as bright as you know they can, is something that needs to be negotiated carefully, I suppose. We had a casting director who initially sent out quite a wide call, and we did two things. One, we had a little speech that we asked them to read, which is Tony's opening monologue to the camera at the beginning. But the other thing we did was we just asked them to dance to their favorite song, like in any context, like wherever they wanted, like with other people if they wanted, and just kind of told them to go for it at 100 on any track. And just see what they sent us. And we got the most incredible videos from people who really let go, and they were so good. And you immediately was like, I want to be in a room with that person. They're clearly,
right.
They are Tony. And Maddie danced to Born This Way all over her entire home. I mean, every inch of that house was danced on in the course of this 1 minute track. She was spinning. She dropped into the splits at the end, and it wasn't about that. It wasn't about gymnastics at all. That wasn't what we were asking people to bring. But she just kind of was really goofy and doing these amazing things, and just so and so we kind of, there were a number of videos a lot like that, and we brought them in and spent some time with them, and it was kind of made an effort to treat the casting process rather differently, and rather than giving someone a few shots and a few shots of taking notes, we kind of treat them as mini workshops and just worked in little sections and sought to see what the working relationship was like. And Maddie was just a joy, and she was she brought so much to it. I can't say how grateful I am for her.
Fantastic. And Kate?
Yeah, well, so one of the things I thought about a lot in the casting process is I wanted the audience to be able to have empathy for all of the characters and see where all of them were coming from, to understand all of them. And so Perry Gilpin, who plays the abstinence educator, one of the things I really thought about with that character is I wanted to cast somebody who the audience already loved, because I wanted the audience to be able to see her point of view, to not just be on the side of the young woman who's rebelling against this program, but to see how a woman in charge of a program like this might think, this is the only way to help people. Young women are not safe in this society. Because to me, I think the only real way to understand how these, I obviously have a problem with abstinence education, abstinence-only education. I think I've spoken to a lot of abstinence educators and discussed the issues that it can bring up in our society with people not knowing, having a lack of knowledge of STDs and consent and pregnancy and sexuality, all these different issues. But I wanted to be able to see why we form these notions in our culture, what they think they protect. So casting Perry, who's not only a wonderful dramatic actress, but is beloved from the sitcom Frasier, that's the reason I wanted to cast her, is that you bring those associations. And then with Emily Robinson, who played Oleander, I was such a fan of her work on Transparent, and I think she filmed 8th Grade simultaneously with when we were working together. But also she's a filmmaker in her own right, and she addresses similar topics in her own work. So I think given that the character is very intellectually engaged, having that intellectual relationship with her was important as well. And then with Jennifer LaFleur, who plays Kim, the filmmaker, she was actually the first actor who came on the project. I just think she's a wonderful actor, and I knew she could bring that subtlety to the performance of being somebody whose whole personality has to be really subsumed to this role that she's playing, to the work that she's doing. And yeah, she's just such a wonderful actress, and I've known of her work again for a while, so I wanted to work with her.
Outstanding. And then Jesse, I want to come back to you. You of course weren't casting, but you hear of an interesting subject, but there's certainly a step between, being introduced to and determining that this is someone that you're going to, be able to make a film about. And you mentioned, you and Jessica being able to, sort of sit down with Millie and, have a conversation. But I'm curious, like over the filming, what was the work of getting Millie to open up to you guys, to, have moments where you're able to really see, the essence of her in the film?
Yeah, I mean, she was pretty forthcoming, right off the bat, as far as just like putting it out there, opening up to us, and was really trusting right from the beginning too, which, with some documentary subjects, obviously some are more hesitant than others and need some convincing that, this is a safe space and they can open up. But, Millie was actually really excited about the opportunity to be the star of a documentary. I think she sort of always craved that attention and never really had it, and never really been in the spotlight, and feels like she's sort of lived a lot of her life in the shadows. But like, she has a lot to say and a lot of opinions, and she was just excited to have a platform to share that. And, I think we filmed a bit with her, just sort of out and about doing her regular routine of, working and painting and going, shopping at the thrift store, and, just sort of trying to be more observational in our filming, and let her be her in her spaces where she was comfortable. And then after we had filmed with her for a few days is when we sort of did our big long sit down interview that you see in the film. And we did that, she's sitting on this step or the doorway of her motorhome, because that's really where she is most comfortable. And, we said to her, you do you. So like, her beverage of choice is Smirnoff Ice. And, so she's like drinking a Smirnoff throughout the interview, smoking cigarettes. Like, we were just like, do whatever you feel comfortable. And yeah, I think she really took to that and opened up to us. And, and she even said afterwards that like, this is really the first time that she has shared some of these things with people. And she was just really, I think, honored and flattered to have that opportunity, and that like we actually were interested. Like that, I think for her is like something, she doesn't think that people are actually interested in her. And so the fact that we were actually taking the time to ask her those questions and wanted her to tell us everything, she was just really grateful for, and, just, I think was natural to just be open in that environment. So, we felt we were just appreciative and grateful also to her that she would share her story with us. But yeah, I think it was a powerful experience, I think, on both ends in the learning experience.
Yeah, hers is definitely a story I think more people should see, and certainly more trans community people should see. It's really important, visibility, and as you're saying, folks being able to exist in their own skin and have their stories be told. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. It was such a pleasure to get to sit down with you. We all are, sitting in our separate rooms, screening, and then coming together as a team to put together these films. But this is the part that is where the magic happens, when we get to connect you an audience. And so thank you so very much for sharing your wonderful work with us.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.